everybody, welcome back. Today we will be reviewing episodes 6 through 8 of You.
That's right.
And back here with my dad, we're going to finish out the season together. So
honored to be here.
Yeah, I know.
With my daughter. Great, Haley.
Such a great show we have.
Yeah.
But yes, so ending off of episode 5, Rhys tells Joe, I'll see you back in London, and then Joe is trying to come up with some sort of plan to bring him down. Then so on to episode 6, Joe is trying to find ways to, get Rhys in trouble, find some dirt on him.
Right, so that he can expose Rhys for what he really is.
Yes, that he's the Eat the Rich killer. But turns out that Rhys has some tricks up his sleeve. Rhys offers Joe kind of a helping hand, but also it's complicated because he doesn't want Joe to take the blame for the murders. He wants him to pin it on someone else in the group, the Oxford group, as they're called. Mm-hmm. And is basically like, either you find someone to frame or you're going to be the one that's framed. So he's kind of trapped in this,
Yeah, he's trapped, so he has to find...
between a rock and a hard place type of thing.
Right, and so he's going to be looking at their tight-knit group, trying to figure out which one to frame. And what's interesting is it looks pretty obvious who he's going to use. That changes. And those details are really entertaining because he is trapped with the... Is this where we see the ear already, or is that later?
I think that's later.
That's later, okay. And he's got...
Oh, no, he does, because then he's like, there's a special present for you in the freezer.
Yeah, so he looks in the freezer, he rolls out this thing, and it's the ear with the earring in it.
It's Simon's
From
ear.
Simon, and he's like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
So then he goes to see the group at that bar, which they seem to always hang out at. And while they're there, I forget this guy's name, but he's the one with the broken nose. And I don't remember him from early.
Yeah, he didn't really stand out much in the part 1 at all. Mm-hmm. He was just kind of one of the, fancy pants. I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah, one of the rich kids kind of thing.
Yeah, and he just had a lot of drug problems. But, I mean, a lot of them have drug problems, so he didn't really stand out that much. But he apparently doesn't have an alibi for the night that Simon died or Malcolm died. One of those. Connie doesn't have a alibi for either of the murders. And he's really at rock bottom right now. And Joe invites him out to lunch, and it's kind of all revealed about how he has really bad drug problems. He's gonna try to get better, and Joe is like, okay, well, he's perfect to pin the murders on.
Right, because he's already got issues. He's already got drug problems, like you said, and they can connect him with it because he was there in these different situations. He already has all these issues, so it seems obvious to Jonathan, that he is going to stick that ear in his jacket sitting there. Yeah. And then something, of course, interrupts him, and something else happens.
Yeah. So, at the party, he sees Connie on the couch, and he's like, oh, perfect, he's asleep, because he thinks he's drugged up or something, but apparently he was meditating and wakes up whenever Joe's about to put it into his pocket.
Right.
And he's like, oh, that discussion we had at lunch, like, you really opened my eyes. I'm going to check into rehab tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And then Joe's like, okay. So then he chooses not to use Connie, and then fate kind of presents him another person. Mm-hmm. So Phoebe is at this party where Kate is trying to sell some of her art, or some of Simon's art. And there is a waitstaff, this woman who comes up to Phoebe. Yep. She's been seen taking pictures
at the
funeral, and then at the art gallery opening, and she's just like this person we don't know, but we've seen her multiple times in multiple episodes. So this is the one where she walks up to Phoebe and she's like, hey, the police need to speak with you, it's urgent. And Phoebe's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we can go if
Yeah.
that's okay.
They need
And
to. Oh no, they said it was like a security situation, and we have to take you to a safe room.
that, well, but she said at first that she was going to go talk to the
Yeah.
police. And she was like, oh,
Right.
okay,
Right.
let's go talk to the police.
Hmm.
And also, Joe's two students are there, Nadia and Edward
Hmm.
are there. And apparently Nadia is like a huge fan of Phoebe. So then whenever the woman and Phoebe are walking to the elevator, Nadia comes up to Phoebe and she's like, hey, could I get a picture? Just like a quick
Right.
selfie.
As they're going to the
And
elevator.
then the woman's like, oh no, we can't. It's too urgent of a situation, blah, blah, blah. So they get in the elevator and then they go up. And then Nadia is just like confused and doesn't understand the whole situation.
Yeah.
So
But then she goes to
Yes.
Jonathan and says it and mentions this to him.
Yeah.
That, hey, is there something going on? They just took her away. And that, of course, throws up a red flag for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he alerts the police that are already there
Mm-hmm.
to something's going on. And then he's a very intelligent guy. He runs through a couple scenarios. What he would have done, of course, is what's going on in his head. And he said, well, it's got to be an
somewhere
isolated
without
room.
adjoining walls.
Right, adjoining rooms. It's got to be somewhere isolated in the layout. So he goes and starts looking for a layout. The police say, "Tell everyone we've got it under control. We've got it
Yeah,
under control.
don't cause,
do anything. Yeah, don't get alarmed.
commotion
Yeah,
or-
don't go crazy." So as that's going on, she is in this room with what's the woman's name? Dawn. She's in the room with Dawn, and Dawn is slowly revealing that she's a huge fan. And it just made me think of the issue between Selena and the woman who killed her, which is her number one fan in charge of her fan club. That, she's trying to say they're good friends and that we communicated through these messages, and you were saying things that were directly to me, and she's like,
She's
"What
like,
the
girl, what are you talking
But
about?
she eventually realizes there's no way out of here. She puts a padlock
her
on the door.
So Dawn's excuse is like, oh, this is a safe room to keep you safe from the Eat the Rich killer. I'm going to keep you safe. We're best friends. We've known each other for so long. And Phoebe is just like, I don't know you. I mean, she doesn't say that. She goes along with it
Right.
because she's like scared out of her mind. But this lady is clearly in some sort of psychotic state that
Right.
she thinks that she knows Phoebe personally, and she's like, "Oh yeah, me and you, Phoebe, we're gonna go back to my house. We're gonna keep us locked in there. It's complete. I have bolts on my doors. Like we're gonna be safe." And Phoebe is just slowly getting more and more terrified for her life.
And when you put a lock on the inside of the door, she's locking them in there. It's like that keeps you from getting out, not other people from getting in, because the lock's on the inside.
Yeah.
Bolting it, keying, and she kept. And there's a key.
she also has a knife too.
Yeah, that's right. She had a knife, and it's a kitchen knife.
Yeah.
So, as we can probably guess, what may be happening next year. So, as the cops are looking, guess who comes to the door? Who figures it out?
Yeah.
Joe figures it out. Goes, housekeeping or something like that.
Maintenance,
or
I think.
Maintenance. And, okay. Maintenance.
So don't do that
Don't knock on the door. Yeah. And he knocks on the door. Maintenance, he says, and
But Phoebe immediately recognizes his voice.
but
and is like-
dying, because he said he's maintenance. He's worried about me.
yeah, so they let him
Care of
in.
me. Yeah, so Phoebe says,
And then Dawn is like, wait, I know you. You were trying to hide your face while you were like following Rhys Montrose, blah, blah, blah. And Joe's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't me. And then Phoebe's like, no, Jonathan's my good friend. I trust him with my life. So Dawn is holding the knife, and Phoebe comes over and takes the knife from her and is pointing it at Dawn and is like, you know what I'll do with this? You know what I'll do with this? And is like threatening her. And Dawn is like over the couch kind of, and Phoebe's like down like this at her.
Yep.
And then all
with
of a
the knife
sudden,
like right at her throat, sort
yeah.
of thing. Yep.
And all of a sudden the cops bust in, and Phoebe drops the knife and is like,
Quickly explains what's going on.
Yeah, quickly explains what's going on, and then they arrest Dawn, and the police are checking through her things, and they pull out the Simon's ear with the earring on it. And then it flashes back to the scuffle between Phoebe and Dawn, and it shows Joe planting the ear into her backpack, into Dawn's backpack.
Perfect, Patsy.
So now Dawn is framed for being the eat the rich killer. So Joe is off.
That's
he
right.
gets off.
Talk about a perfect setup. I mean,
yes.
she's followed them everywhere. She's been to the funeral. She's a rabid fan. She's kidnapped Phoebe. She has the same or similar knife. And it couldn't be better for Joe and for Rhys to, I mean, it's perfect. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better than this.
And then as that scene is ending, you see Nadia staring through the door at Joe and just has this confused or puzzled look on her face. And she's like, again, he's the hero of the story. And so then it jumps to
like the
Joe.
Next day at the school.
No, it goes to Joe at his flat, and Rhys is there waiting for him, and he's like, such a good job, buddy. You did so good with that frame job, but I'm going to need you to do something else for me. Yeah, so whenever he walks in, Rhys is drinking beer and is playing a record on his record player. And Joe walks in and says nothing to him and just takes the record off and smashes it on the ground. And Rhys is like, oh, okay. But yeah, so Rhys is like, listen, great job with the frame job, but I need you to do something else for me.
One more thing.
You know Tom Lockwood, Kate's dad? Yeah, I'm going to need you to take him out for me. Because he sees Tom as a threat to his
his political bid, his
run, his election,
he's like a political rival sort of, but he's just even though he's not running against him, he's against him as a candidate, and he's gonna probably Lockwood's gonna do anything he can to stop him.
Yeah.
So hey, it's good for both of us to end Lockwood for politics and for Kate.
So he tells Joe all of this and is like, listen, it's a good deal for me and you because Kate's dad is ruining her life, it controls her life, controls everything she does.
Right.
So that's A, good for you. B, good for me. He is my political advocate and adversary. And, taking him out for me would do me a favor also. So
it's good for me, it's good for you.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation. And Joe's just like...
this, and just things, we haven't seen Joe this angry in some time.
He's so peeved off.
He's like, I can't, why are you here? I'm done, it's over. And he's like, you gotta
but
be
he's
kidding.
trapped. He's trapped.
Yes.
There's no getting out of this unscathed.
Yeah.
And so...
But this whole time we're trying to figure out why Rhys wanted him. Now we understand. Because he can use him to get his stuff taken care of politically, personally. Because I think in one part he talks about why he's going after all these people because they know too much about it.
Yeah, everyone has blackmail on Rhys.
Everybody does.
So, and then I think the episode ends with Nadia gathering more information and is like, why is our professor always the hero at the end of every story? For example, at the manor, he was the hero of the manor, and then he was the hero with Phoebe.
That's
and she's like, well, like you said, like the detective thing.
Yeah, so she thinks, wait a minute, he's researching how to be a detective, and all of a sudden he's the hero in every single situation? How the heck is that possible?
Yeah.
And she's hanging out with Edward, who's her boyfriend-ish, would-be boyfriend-ish. And so he's trying to help however he can. And I think he obviously is just...
he's very skeptical.
He's very skeptical, but he's also obviously cares about her very much and will go along with whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
And that
wraps up episode 6.
Okay. We'll see you guys next time for episode 7 coming right up.
Okay.